For your color swatches, you're going to come up with 4 different colors. Base number 1, the latest skin tone. Base number 2, which is a darker version of number 1. The blush color, which is any part of the face that has red undertones. And then the cast shadow, which is literally the part of the face that gets cast by another body part. This is usually on the jawline or on the neck. Here's some examples of color swatches that I've done before. As you can see, there's so many different kinds of skin tone, so definitely have your reference image at hand so that you can compare and match it to your reference. Before you work in watercolor, you need to first clean your tray. So using your brush and some clean water, dissolve the pigment that might have been left over from before. Using your paper towel, scoop it up, and then you have a clean palette to start with. Once your palette tray is clean, you're going to use your paintbrush sort of like a pipette and put a couple of drops of water into a few of the little divots. This will give you a bunch of spaces where you can do your color mixing. So with watercolor, you're starting with a base of water. Painting with watercolor is all about layering, and you start with the lightest layer first. In my reference image, I identify the lightest layer as the forehead. So this skin color, I'm going to be using this peachy color and dropping it into a clean well. Wash your brush so you don't cross-contaminate. And then I'm going to put in some magenta. When you're mixing up your base number 1, it's essentially some sort of yellow with some sort of red or magenta. Every time you make an adjustment to the color, do a swatch and compare it to your reference image. As you can see, it might take some trial and error, and it always takes me a few swatches before I'm really happy with my color. So be patient and trust the process. In the end, it's going to be worth it. So don't rush when it comes to putting down your swatches. Once you have your colors picked out, don't forget to also put down the original color so you know exactly what colors to mix together, even if you work on your painting a different day. Try to be organized. Always label your swatches and identify which one that you want to use. For base number 2, it's the same thing as base 1, but with a little bit of a shadow. So for this one, I'm going to be looking at my friend's cheek, which is a little bit darker. So again, I'm mixing up base number 1, and I usually add a little bit of brown to it. Same thing as before, make your swatches and keep comparing it to your reference image. Don't forget to label it base number 2 and also identify which one you want to use. For your blush color, this is part of the face that has red undertones. So on my reference image, I'm looking at my friend's lips. I'll also be putting this color on the nose and the cheeks. The last swatch is a cast shadow. The cast shadow is usually a purple or a blue, and for this I'm going to be using this smoky neutral purple color. So to review, you're coming up with 4 different colors. Base number 1, your skin tone. Base number 2, your skin plus shadow. Your blush for the lips, the cheeks, and the nose. And your cast shadow color. When you're ready to start, make sure you have enough watercolor mixed up. So here I made a lot of base number 1, and I'm double checking it in my sketchbook with my reference image to make sure that the water ratio is correct. I'm pretty happy with it, so I'm ready to start. Don't forget, tape your watercolor paper to your mat so it doesn't warp, and then apply base number 1 to everywhere that there's skin. Once you've done that, apply a second layer of base number 1 to the areas of the face that are slightly darker. Remember, working in watercolor is all about building up your layers starting from light to dark.